So let's talk about the system and also about the view of one of the candidates, Ron Paul, with Charlie McGrath, the founder of WideAwakeNews.com. Hey there, Charlie. Let's just talk a little bit about this week. And a lot of Ron Paul supporters are certainly pretty upset about what happened in Maine, with announcements coming out prematurely, the results of some of the primary results, the caucus results, being lost in spam mailboxes of the election head. What's going on here?
Well, yeah, it's hard to say what's going on. I mean, we knew going into it that vote count wouldn't be necessarily be able to be reported last week as being factual. It's going to take some time for it to work out, and hopefully he ends up with the win in his column. But I mean, this is so completely the typical left-right game. The GOP has its favorites. Mitt Romney needed a win really bad, so he went and spent a day there, and he was announced the winner. I think the good news is Ron Paul in 2008. His performance, it wasn't even close to what we're seeing now in 2012. So even if he comes in second, even if he just remains in the middle of this pack of four, I think his support is growing because his message is legitimate and it's the best thing for this country.
And his message is certainly very different from sort of the standard line of the Republican Party. A lot of, kind of old school Republicans are a little bit uncomfortable by the idea of Ron Paul, not just by his message, but the fact that he is unwilling to preach what they want him to preach. I want to put up something that was on CNN the other day, something really, really interesting. It shows you not just how the people think, but look at this. This is a poll that shows Ron Paul having he's on the bottom. Romney is on top. I mean, maybe this just goes to show how the mainstream media views things, but this is a picture actually taken from somebody's television screen on CNN. What's going on here? I mean, why? It's not just the Republican Party. It seems it's also, and this wasn't Fox News, this was CNN.
Right.
It's also some of the mainstream media that
all the mainstream media, you want to treat them like your crazy uncle. And you can blame a lot of reasons for this. I mean, if you want to go the conspiratorial route, which is, the route I'm going to take right here, it's that 80 or 90% of the media, the mainstream media, is owned by a very, very small group of corporations. About a half a dozen corporations control 90% of the news that is disseminated in this country, in the West. And it benefits them to have this fake left-right battle between so-called conservative Republicans and liberal Democrats. But Christine, we know that there's absolutely no difference. You talked about some of the topics that were up this week. We're talking about abortion, gay rights. These things are important. I'm not trying to belittle these things, but the fact of the matter is we're still engaged in the longest military engagement in the history of this country. We borrow 40 cents of every single dollar to fund this military expansion, and there's only one candidate in the perceived left or perceived right that is speaking against this, and that's Ron Paul. We have not declared a war in this nation since 1942, but for the last decade, basically for the last 2 decades, we have been on a constant war footing. He's the only one with the message of, we need to bring our troops home, we need to have sound money, we need to get our own house in order and stop playing policemen around the world. So that doesn't benefit the mainstream media. When this small group of... Go ahead.
That's not even talking about another big issue, which is the economy.
Sure.
Not to go mainstream on you, Charlie, but I want to actually quote something, I'm going to say it, that Sarah Palin said recently.
Nice.
She said that she believes the primaries will likely end with a deal over delegates.
Yeah.
She said, voters have no enthusiasm for Republican candidates. Talk about the delegate aspect of this, because this is something that Ron Paul and his supporters have been really good about. They have been, the last ones at some of these primaries. They've got their eye on the delegates.
Well, I'm not a complete expert on this process, but I do know that is his goal. He knows he's not going to win. Everybody knows he's not going to be the nominee for the Republican Party to run for president. But I believe what he's trying to do is try to amass enough delegates that he will have a voice in helping shape policy that is a sane policy. So I think, for what he can hope for, the money that he has, I think that the best, from his point of view, the best thing he could do is keep on spreading his message, amass delegates, and then maybe interject some sanity during the convention, and maybe be heard, and maybe speak on behalf of the American people on some of the topics that we've covered here today.
certainly no matter what we see in the polls, that message has really, really had a hand in shaping, changing even the discussion during this primary season. And I think it's an important one not to be ignored. Charlie McGrath, founder of WideAwakeNews.com. So what do you think? Many of the recent polls